Hello, Watem here, and welcome back to some more Umineko When Seagulls Cry. Let us continue. Several people let out dejected sighs. It was vividly clear that in their haste they thought some hint related to the witch's epitaph, or maybe even the gold itself might be resting there.
六軒島はこの屋敷の周りが整地されているだけに過ぎねえ。他は完全に未開で、前頭測量は相当の手間がかかるだろうな。
Well, there must be some way of what's his name? Kinzo could find it consistently.
でも確かに存在すると分かっただけでも収穫よ。お金はかかるだろうけど、例えば航空写真の会社に調査を頼むとか。
Yeah, well, you don't really have that kind of time.
このお屋敷を建設した業者に当時のことを聞くとか。調べる方法はあるかもしれないわね。
Actually, I'm wondering how can Basler hear about this when he's currently in like with the other cousins as opposed to with the siblings.
そうね。あるかないかもわからないものを探すよりはまだ方法があるはずよ。
早速調べる価値があるだろう。
その調査は兄弟合同でやるわよ。兄さん一人ではさせないわ。
It wasn't yet certain that the gold was hidden in that secret mansion, but the sparks seemed to have started flying between Kraus and Dever already.
兄貴たち、今はよせよ。ローザ、続きを話してくれ。
Blindly, randomly, I kept running, on and on. Suddenly, I came across something I thought was an animal trail. I was very tired and had no idea how far I'd walked. So at that time, I naturally took the easiest path. It was also a question, how did she make her way back? Ooh. As I did, suddenly, right before my eyes, a very, very tall fence appeared. It was a fence wonderfully adorned in a Gothic style. For an instant, I thought I'd gotten turned around and returned to the original mansion. Of course, there were fences around the mansion to stop us from entering the forest, but this fence was decorated differently, and moreover, it was very tall. Probably reached a full 2 stories up. Whew. It was covered with ivy and created a mysterious, solemn atmosphere. At the time, I believed in the legend of the witch of the forest, Beatrice. I had been told that she was frightening, but some of the servants told me that she'd sometimes help you if you respected her. Since I had little confidence in those days, I believed the only way I could be saved was by receiving her help. That's why I thought what I did. I believed that this was the fence of the mansion belonging to Beatrice, the witch of the forest. I thought that if I could meet with Beatrice, she'd definitely save me. So I decided to try going in. But the fence was very, very tall, and it didn't look like I'd be able to go over it. So I chose to walk around it. I thought that if I did, I'd eventually reach a gate. But it wasn't that easy. The fence had an incredible length to match its incredible height, and no matter how far I went, I didn't reach the corner. I might have encircled a massive area. It might have encircled a massive area. Or maybe I just had that impression because my child's legs made it difficult to walk in the forest. Anyway, I couldn't find a gate for a while, and I started to feel sad. so the witch had rejected me. As I did, I eventually came upon a large tree whose twisted roots had bent the fence. I might get my clothes dirty, but if I crawled, it looked like I'd be able to sneak in.
そこが隠し屋敷だったの？あれが私たちの言う隠し屋敷なのかはわからない。
But you found a hidden mansion?
でも少なくとも私たちの知る場所ではなかったわ。
It wasn't as though I came out into a garden as soon as I passed the fence. I had to continue through a lot more uncultivated forest after that. As I did, the forest suddenly opened up, and what appeared there was an unbelievably fantastical scene. To think that, on Nokonjima, where I thought only we lived, there could be such a wonderful mansion hidden away. A beautiful flower garden spanned the front of the mansion. It was a flower garden of a completely different design from the rose garden we know it so well, and it was very lovely. Of course, the mansion was also wonderful. It was a couple sizes smaller than ours, but it was still elegant and adorable at the same time. Then, I saw her figure. I saw her sitting in a garden chair positioned to give a view of the flower garden, wearing an elegant dress. It was that black dress embroidered in gold that we would later know from that portrait. I hadn't seen an elegant dress like that except in fairy tales and on the stage of musicals. For a person to be wearing it as her normal clothes, that in itself seemed quite fantastical. Oh, and we can see the fence in the background, I guess, there. That does... Noticing that detail does make for a much more fantastical scene, I think. Is Nokonjima that hilly, I wonder? Huh. Yes, it's enough to make me lose my sense of reality. I'm not sure if I said that. If someone had told me then that it was a dream, I might have nodded obediently and waited to wake up in my bed. I'd forgotten to hide myself in my shock, so she eventually spotted me. At first, her expression was quite listless. When she noticed me, her eyes opened very wide. It was only natural, considering that a guest she didn't know had suddenly appeared. I lowered my head automatically, planning to greet her and apologize for entering without permission.
そなたは誰か？新しい庭師なのか？
Those were the first words she said to me. I grew slightly calmer, because I realized that we could talk to each other. Because I hadn't been turned into a frog just by meeting her eyes, like a terrifying witch in a fairy tale.
ごめんなさい。
She's been asking who she is. And she goes, well, my name's Beatrice, but I don't know more than that. Is Rosa going to tell her the story of the Witch of the Forest, and that's going to remind her of who she is?
勝手にお庭に立ち入ってすみません。そなたは誰か？名乗るがよい。後宮ローザと言います。後宮。ほう、金蔵の一族の人間なのか？え？はい、金蔵の娘です。こんにちは。
I was a little surprised. After all, Father was a great man, feared by everyone. And yet she had spoken of him without using honorifics. So I was immediately terrified of her. After all, if she could refer to my fearsome father that way, she must be a witch with incredible power. After staring at me curiously, she beckoned me to come over. Frightened as I was, I obeyed. After all, I thought she might really turn me into a frog. closer I got, the stronger that fear became. After all, as I keep saying over and over, that woman and her dress in the flower garden of the mansion. That whole picture was so fantastical and beautiful that it seemed separate from reality. It probably wouldn't have surprised me at all to learn that she really was a witch. And I really was lucky. She hadn't turned me into a frog. As I awkwardly stood there, stock still, she motioned to an open chair and urged me to sit down. Oh, how cute.
初めて訪れたものを庭へ招き、語らうのがわらわの唯一の楽しみよ。他に何の楽しみもないがな。
As she said this, she let an unhappy smile show for just an instant. Because I was full of a strange mix of tension and excitement, I really asked her a question all of a sudden.
森の魔女、ベアトリーチェですか？いかにも。
Ah, no, okay. My idea is completely wrong.
わらわがベアトリーチェである。
Oh.
やはりな。ベアトリーチェは実在したんだ。
その姿はまさに肖像画の。
ええ、まさにあの肖像画の通りよ。
お父さんの想像の中の魔女じゃなかったんやな。
それであなたは彼女と何を話したの？
彼女はお茶を入れながら私のことをいろいろと聞いたわ。まず森を抜けてやってきたことを驚かれた。彼女は柵の外には危険な狼がたくさんいると信じていたみたいだった。だから私が森を抜けてたどり着いたと言ったら、とてもどうやって狼から逃れたのか、リスクそれとも魔法の街灯をかぶって。彼女はお茶を入れながら私のことをいろいろと聞いたわ。まず森を抜けてやってきたことを驚かれた。彼女は柵の外には危険な狼がたくさんいると信じていたみたいだった。なんて感じのことを言ってたっけ？だから私が森を抜けてたどり着いたと言ったらとても驚いていたわ。どうやって狼から逃れたのか、ビスケットを渡して許してもらったのか、それとも魔法の街灯をかぶってなんて感じのことを言ってたっけ？
そりゃ確かに魔女っぽいわな。面白いお人や。
あなた黙って。ずいぶん昔だけど、お父様は森には狼が住んでいるから近寄ってはならないって私たちを脅さなかった？
ああ、そんなこともあったな。バカらしいね。日本の狼はとっくの昔に絶滅しているというのに。
I mean, maybe he imported some wolves especially for the purpose.
まさに子供騙しだな。
Considering how rich he was, I wouldn't put it past him.
記憶にねえな。そんな話親父に聞かされたっけ？森には魔女だろ？狼なんて話聞いたことないぜ。
あんたがまだ小学校だった頃よ。覚えてない？そしたらあんたむしろ狼を撫でてみたいなんて言い出すもんだから。お父様はすぐに狼の話を引っ込めて魔女の話に切り替えたのよ。
Also, this is new.
もうその嘘っぽいことと言ったら
I want them to go out into the forest and find just like wolf bodies somewhere.
当時のルドルフには狼よりも魔女の話の方がてきめんだったね。よく覚えているよ。 私の背中にしがみついた夜があったことを覚えているかね？
ルドルフさんにもそんな可愛らしい時代があったのね。
うるせえな。子供の頃の話だぜ。
まあとにかくベアトリーチェを閉じ込めていたのがお父さんなら、同じ狼の話をするのは道理ね。彼にとって六軒島の広大な森は後宮家と愛人の屋敷という相入れない二つの異世界を分断する越えてはならない壁だったのだから。
柵の高さを考えると、どうやら親父殿は庭ごと丸々を座敷牢にしたようだな。さながら二つの世界を分ける国境も同然だったのだろう。
狼はともかく野犬の類でもいたのではありませんか？そのための策だったかもしれません。
Yes, that's why they needed to be two stories tall.
六軒島に狼も野犬もいないわ。その策は兄さんやキリエさんの言うようにベアトリーチェと私たちの間の国境だったんでしょうね。
しかし、狼の話を素直に信じるなんて、なんちゅうか、純朴やな。わしの想像していた魔女とは随分違う感じやで。
そうね。それは私も感じたわ。とても尊大で、確かに魔女のイメージ通りの人だったんだけど、
However,
どこか
Oh.
とても子供っぽくて、なんていうのか素直すぎるというか、世間知らずな印象を受けたわ。例えるなら本当におとぎの国の人みたいというか本当に不思議な人だったわ。
それからどうしたんだ？親父の話とかは出たのか？
ええ、何日かに一度約束されている日もあれば突然の日もあったそうだけど、ふらりとお父様が訪れては一緒にお茶を飲んだり散歩したりしたんですって。私が訪れたその日はたまたま彼女一人だったと言っていたわ。
なるほどな。まさに愛人といったところだ。やれやれ、いくつ年下か知らんが、親父殿もやるね。
いかがわしい意味での交流はなかったと確信しています。
バカね。男と女の仰せに色気がないはずないじゃない。それでどうしたの？それから何の話を？
私の自己紹介をしたので逆に彼女のことを質問したわ。
that's when she said she doesn't know.
そうしたら急に雰囲気が落ち込んでしまったの。なんていうのか、とても気だるそうな、寂しそうな。私が初めて彼女の顔を見た時に浮かべていたのと同じ表情だった。
まあ秘密の愛人だからな。好き勝手に歩かれておふくろに見つかっちまったらことだ。きっと軟禁に近い状態だったろう。綺麗なドレスに綺麗な屋敷や庭があってもさぞや窮屈な思いをしてたんだろうぜ。そりゃ苦労もあったろうさ。それで
彼女はきっと何か悩みがあった。
Okay, so she didn't mention anything about not knowing.
それを私に話したところで何の解決にもならない。私もとても悲しかったのを覚えてる。私と一緒にいることさえ忘れてしまったかのようで、遠くをぼんやり見ながらずっと無言でいたわ。私はきっと失言してしまったに違いないと思ったんだけど、謝罪の言葉すらも口にしていいような雰囲気じゃなくて。だから私も彼女が私と一緒にいることを思い出してくれるまでずっと黙ってた。
And then she muttered unexpectedly.
柵の向こうには本当に狼などおらぬのか。え？はい。狼なんて動物園でも見たことないです。動物園とは何か。ああ、いろんな動物が飼われているところです。象とかキリンとかパンダとか珍しい動物がいっぱいいますよ。動物園に狼はいないのか。なら怖くないかもしれんな。狼がいたとしても動物はみんな檻に入ってますから安全です。だから安心して見学できるんですよ。
The mighty witch of the forest was apparently terrified of wolves. I remembered it looked pretty funny to me at the time.
それはわらわとどう違うのか。
She didn't know about zoos. I explained how fun zoos could be, but it was very difficult for a person like her, who had never visited one, to understand. On the contrary, as I explained it to her, her expression grew increasingly dismal. She couldn't see the difference. Apparently, even though she lived in an elegant mansion that was surrounded by a high fence and seemed to lack for nothing, she couldn't see how she was any different from animals shut up in cages. Okay, so she does mention that.
皆はわらわのことをベアトリーチェと呼ぶ。それは確かにそなたの言うように偉大な魔女の名前らしい。しかしそれはわらわではないのだ。
No?
わらわには魔法など何も使えぬ。わらわはその魔女の魂を好みに封じられているだけなのだ。
Interesting. There was definitely something odd about her, beyond just being cut off from the world. It seems she truly believed that magic exists. I think she talked about lots of weird things, but I don't remember the details. All I thought was that this might be a person to be pitied. She was unable to leave this mansion of her own free will, a prisoner without even realizing it. And she didn't know anything about the outside world, didn't even understand who she was. She probably vaguely realized that she was to be pitied. But since she didn't know anything, she seemed incapable of recognizing her own unhappiness. Long ago, when I told Nair-san that I felt sorry for a bird in a cage, she said this. A bird that only knows about the inside of a cage doesn't long for the outside. But this wasn't a bird. She really was a person. Even if she'd never been outside the cage, she understood that there was more to the world. So, I invited her.
柵の外へ出てみますか？本当に狼はいないのか？いないですよ。絶対平気ですから。出たいぞ。だが、いつも門は閉まっている。私が入ってきたところがあります。くぐり抜けられる隙間があるんです。そこを抜ければ外の世界があるのか？はい。狼は本当にいない？はい、いませんよ。
I'd only planned on inviting her to go on a short walk, but she kept looking over her shoulder at the mansion, as though she was seriously worrying over the decision. Then, I learned what she was preparing herself for.
わらわはもうここは嫌だ。外へ出たい。そしてわらわが何者で、この世界はどうなっていて、わらわは何のために生まれてきたのかを知り。
I didn't know what her life had been like before then. was probably something she couldn't express easily. If it was harsh, she just had to say she wanted to escape. If it was sweet, she just had to say she'd stay. For example, maybe it was like how a hot fireplace on a winter's day makes the air get thicker and thicker, giving you a headache. Even though you know you shouldn't keep things the way they are, you still need courage to open the window and be tormented by the cold wind. She was starting to realize that she couldn't stay there forever. She was starting to realize that she had to go outside someday. But since she didn't know about the outside world, she must have needed courage to take that unspeakable first step outside. And despite that, she had made her decision. She'd voiced her decision to go outside, a decision she was probably making for the first time in her life. I hesitated for a moment. Father had decided that she should live here. She was like Father's beloved bird in a cage. If I just let her escape, Father might scold me harshly.
見たい。何を？動物園が見たいのだ。
Okay, so I want the tea party version, but then I also want the blushing version for the thumbnail. Game, why do you make it hard for me? I was just a little surprised when she finally gave me a gentle smile. Could that have been the farsightedness brought about by her decision to venture out from her cage? It was a smile so gentle, I couldn't imagine that it had come from that once dark face.
そなたと話すと知らないことばかり出てくる。わらわは学校なるものもわからぬし、動物園も知らぬ。
Actually, thinking about it with the birdcage, saying that a bird doesn't, when birdcage doesn't know about the outside, it can see outside, certainly.
映画館も知らぬ。遊園地も知らぬ。そしてそれを知りたいと心の底から思う。そなたはわらわをそこへ連れて行ってくれるのか？
From the sound of things, she's still bound to the island in some way. So I'd say she still hasn't seen those things. I was nervous about how I could keep it a secret from Father, but her face looked so happy, so I went along with her and nodded. But she seemed not to notice the meaning behind my vague smile. She seemed to believe that I'd really take her to all those places. She was pure and genuine. She'd probably never been tricked by anyone. No, maybe it's better to say that she never learned how to doubt. Her smile was somehow radiant, and yet pathetic. I wanted to find a way to grant her modest wish.
わらわはもうベアトリーチェは嫌だ。わらわが何者なのか知りたい。ベアトリーチェではない新しい人間を始めたい。だからここから連れ出してほしい。もう紅茶もいらぬ。ドレスもいらぬ。金蔵とも二度と会わぬ。ここよりわらわを連れ出してくれ。ローザ。
However, that responsibility was one that a child like me couldn't hope to fully bear. Still, when I saw her serious gaze, along with that brilliant smile that made it look as though her possessing spirit had left her, I could feel a little courage start to rise up inside me. This was definitely something that would get me into a lot of trouble. And yet, it was definitely the right thing to do. I'll take her out, but I'll take her away from here. Okay. Of course, I won't be able to talk to Father, and not Mother either. Should I talk to Oni-sama or One-sama? No, what about that reliable Genji-san? Or, that's right, what about Kumasawa-san, to whom I can always talk when I'm in trouble? I'm sure they'll be able to do something. Anyway, for now, I'll take her out of here. This was already a place she didn't want to be. So, I took her to the crack in the fence and led her outside. She was all nervous, checking to make sure there were no wolves around. Once that fear disappeared, even just walking around the dense forest seemed to be fun somehow. And on that note, before we find out how she died, we will be ending it there for today. I hope you all enjoyed. It's cute to see blushing Beatrice. So yeah, let me know any feedback you have in the comments. And until next time, see ya.